welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered HR with me, Emily Martin.
And me, Jen Strait.
And today, Jen, we are here at Mercy Flight, a valued and beloved client of Complete Payroll.
That's right, yes. We have been partnered with them for quite some time. And we just wanted to talk a little bit about Mercy Flight and their mission and what they do. Joe is going to put, I know Joe is going to put a link, mercyflight.org. Their website, they are an amazing organization that when minutes matter, they're there to help. There's going to be a lot of ways that you can donate. So if you visit their website, you can get some ideas on how to donate. And
nonprofit, very much donor-funded organization providing emergency and non-emergency services for transportation, medical transportation on the ground actually and in the air. They're not just the helicopters.
That's right, yes.
But you never know when you or a loved one might need that service. So if you're interested in donating to a pretty universally worthy, valuable cause.
Absolutely.
Check out the website and the links, and they have events and things as well that you can attend in order to donate in a different way. So
and they have wonderful stories and testimonials on their website as well. If you go through that and just hearing some of those stories, I know that you'll want to donate right after hearing those. So, and thank you to Joe and Elaine and Scott for getting us our Mercy Flight gear. We have water bottles and T-shirts and hats and everything. So thank you so much.
Cool.
All right.
Well, Jen. Speaking of saving the day,
yes,
and safe landing.
Oh yes.
Today
you're gonna lay the runway
we're gonna talk about bringing in great hires for a landing.
So many puns. Just used them all. We used them all. We're not gonna use any more.
Well, I couldn't help myself. So the next two episodes actually are going to be centered on hiring, and today we're really going to focus on recruiting and selecting the best and right fit people for your business. The theme of the last few episodes has really been about getting back to basics and doing all these little things right that make a big difference for your business when it comes to people, and hiring is definitely one of those things.
Yeah, I think a lot of businesses I keep hearing the same things. We're just trying to find employees. And then some employers start to feel desperate at some times because they want to run their business and then are just hiring anybody that applies.
Yeah.
But that can come with some consequences. So let's talk about hiring.
Yeah, and I just want to say not every person is a fit for every job or every company, and not every company is a fit for every person, or every job is a fit for every person, and that's totally okay.
Mm-hmm. An interview goes both ways, right?
Yes. So your selection process and the recruiting process is really meant, and the whole premise of it is to discover what is the right fit for both parties. So we're going to talk about some measures you can take to make sure that you are avoiding mistakes in doing that, because we all know the costs and headaches that can come with bad hires later. Yeah.
And financial headaches that come with bad hires.
Well, financial costs and energy costs and sanity costs.
That's right. And when we say financial costs, it's because you think about how much time and energy and finances go into training and go into new equipment and new things. You want to make sure that you're filling it with the right person who aligns with your company.
Yeah.
With their company values as well, which...
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and talk about cost, it's actually estimated that the cost of replacing someone, so if you make that bad hire, can be 1.5 to 2 times the annual salary for that position. So if you do the math in your head really quick of your average salary or the average pay of your average worker, that's a lot of money. And so spending some time up front, coming up with a great plan for hiring and being more purposeful about these efforts can save you a lot.
Yeah, and you said
Don't settle.
Well, you said something funny. You're like, if you do math in your head real quick, and I already was lost. Try to do the math of what?
We'll work on math later. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
All right. So let's talk about what you can and really, really should do when you're hiring. So, like the last episode, Jen, let's talk about what you must do when you're hiring.
Yep.
So, like everything pesky HR and employment related.
Oh, gross.
There are many regulations, and like everything else, it's a growing list of regulations that you have to follow when you are recruiting and selecting. And so you need to be compliant first and foremost, obviously. So first, that comes into play when you post a job, Jen. So regardless of where you're posting or how you're posting, if you have a posting up, you definitely don't want to put anything illegal in that posting. And the biggies that are regulated now are starting in September, actually, everyone's going to be required, and people are doing it now already, to put the wage range in the posting. So you have to list the minimum pay you possibly could pay for the job and the maximum pay. So get ready for that, get used to that. That's going to be a requirement.
Is that for every industry?
Every industry, every job, every employer, no matter where you are, where the job is, basically.
And that's a good habit to get into now.
Yeah.
Because when you don't want a lingering posting that you came up with in June or July, hanging out in September.
And people are starting to do it, so you might as well get on board so your posting doesn't stand out for the wrong reasons.
And again, you want to make sure that you are interviewing the right people, so they know right up front.
Transparency.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, that's what all of this is about.
What else do you have to do, Em?
Well, you also shouldn't put anything in there that you are legally allowed to consider when you're hiring someone.
That makes sense.
So unless you're Hollister and you're hiring for the beefy, tan, oily men out front of the store, we're dating ourselves now.
I know.
You can't put anything
Hollister.
about being beefy or tan or tall or attractive in your job posting. Unless it's a bona fide job requirement, it should not be in there, because otherwise you're probably going to be accused of discrimination, and we all know how terrible those proceedings can be.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So those are the biggies when it comes to posting, Jen. If you're a federal contractor or something, you may need to post things about equal opportunity employment, certain statements, so make sure you check that out as well. And there'll be more information on our corresponding websites about some of these details. So compliance when it comes to selection, kind of similar stuff. So selection means like when you are having someone complete an application, or the questions that you enter for people on Indeed to fill out, because you can do that yourself, or questions you ask in your phone screen or during any part of the interview process, even in person. You also don't want to be asking questions that are illegal to ask, or about information that you shouldn't be using or shouldn't have in making your hiring decision. So some really black and white examples of things that are illegal now are asking people about their previous pay rate. So employers have to post what the range is, but you can't ask employees about what they've made in past jobs. You can't ask what they expect to make, what they want to make, but you can't straight up ask what their old pay rate was in their old job.
And that's interesting, because I think that's been a common kind of question that interviewees
To get, again, some type of transparency. You would expect it to be allowed both ways, but it's not.
Right.
So don't ask that. Also, do not ask anything about previous conviction history. So again, on the application itself, or even in any phone screen or interviews, that is a protected class now in New York State, and you're not allowed to ask that at the hiring stage. Now, if you need to know that information when someone's hired, you can do a background check at a certain time, and there's a bunch of rules about that, but you can't ask someone about that.
So that's very interesting. So the question that you see on a lot of applications, have you been convicted of a felony, you cannot put on there any longer.
That's not supposed to be on there anymore. Yeah.
That is a huge take.
Make sure you go put some
writing
white
that
out
down.
on that.
Yeah, we're going to
now.
write that down. Joe,
Yeah,
that's
I
a
do
blog.
see it still out there. Yeah. And that's slowly filtered in for the past few years.
Yeah.
And then, of course, other questions about, disability status, medical history, anything to do with sexuality, race, family status, about if they have kids, and all these things. They're not job related, right? The whole point is you should only be asking questions that really get to the heart of, is this person able to do the job, right? Do they have the knowledge, skills, ability, or experience to do the job? And also, maybe, are they a fit for your culture? So can they be flexible if that's what you need? Can they wear multiple hats if that's what you need? Can they be self-directed if you have a very unstructured work environment? Those are all things that are fine to ask about, because they directly relate to doing the job, but you shouldn't really vary too much outside of that.
That's very specific, but it's good to know. It's good to know on what the changes are, because people are used to what we were doing. And this is very specific, that you can't ask those kind of questions.
And I know everybody likes to be informal during the hiring process.
Right.
A lot of people approach it that way,
Yeah.
and I think that can be okay, but just as long as that informality doesn't cross boundaries into these other no-no areas, basically.
Yeah, and here, these are, especially on postings, there's no denying, not that you would want to deny anything, but things can be interpreted in different ways too. So it's just very careful how you do it. So let's talk about what you have to do. We did, and let's talk about what you should do.
What you should
do.
Yeah.
What you should do.
Do again.
Do.
All right.
What you should do. So this is not, you're saying this is not required, but this is something that you suggest.
So minimally, you should be compliant, right?
Right.
This is basic HR 101.
Yep.
Minimally, you should be compliant, but there's a lot you can do from an HR employment standpoint, including when you're hiring and selecting and recruiting, that can really increase your odds of, again, hiring the best right fit person for the job and for your company, but also avoiding those mistakes in hiring. So the first one is figure out what you need first before you do anything. Way back when, I think it's episode 4 and 5 of Unfiltered HR and our, baby infancy stages of video making.
Yeah.
We did kind of talk about some of this, but if you don't spend time up front understanding what you need, again, knowledge, skills, abilities, experience, but also, personality and intangible fit, then you're probably not going to be having a good roadmap to determine who's a good fit, what questions to ask to determine if they're a good fit or if they have those things. So spend time up front defining the job, putting together a job description, really identifying your company culture and values so you can make sure to have those things in mind when you're screening resumes, when you're creating a job posting to attract that person, or when you're interviewing.
Yeah, you're only saving yourself time and energy and money by just putting everything up front that you possibly can and for the right applicants to apply.
Yep, absolutely, yeah. And so that brings us to our next point, which is creating a job posting. So, Jen, if you go on Indeed right now and type in any job, I guarantee you 90% of the postings are going to look like copied and pasted job descriptions, which is so boring and no one's reading that.
Right.
So this should be considered like an advertisement for your job and your company, and you should be shouting out why someone would want to work for you, what the right fit person is for the job in your company to work for you. And then also scaring away people who are not a good fit.
Right.
And that maybe sounds extreme and polarizing, but why wouldn't you want to do that from the start, right? This will save you time in having people apply who aren't a fit, and they'll appreciate knowing that they're not a fit, so they can go work somewhere else where they will be happy if it's not with you.
Right, absolutely. You're setting the expectations up front, and so are they, and that's just the best way to do it.
Yeah, so make it obvious who you want and who you don't. And please don't forget to sell yourself. There are a lot of tangible but also intangible benefits of different employers. So if you have flexibility in scheduling, if you're a small office environment and employees will have access to the owner, right, or get the opportunity to see a lot of different functions and things, don't take those for granted. Those are for the right fit person, really cool opportunities and benefits to working for you that you should make sure to shout out in the job posting.
Shout it out.
Yes. Be real. And then where to post, Jen? I get this question all the time. Side note, Indeed, I think, is definitely where everyone's posting their jobs. If your job's not on Indeed.com, you're probably missing out on a huge set of eyeballs. So definitely get it up there.
All right. Is there anywhere else that you would suggest?
I think depending on the industry, LinkedIn's a good place because people that know you well and know your company well will share it out and maybe know someone in their mind that they can refer you to.
Yeah.
And it's free to post it on your feed. I don't know what is LinkedIn, a feed or news feed or something.
Yeah.
It's not a wall, I don't know. But yeah, putting it on there so people that know you well can share it out.
And then you can even have the Indeed posting right on there.
The link to it, yeah.
To do that. And then if you have a system that captures that information right from the applicant tracking that goes on to onboarding, we can help you out with that. So I could start all the way from the applicant filling out process when you're filling out your application. Our system can capture that information from the beginning. So
yeah, definitely streamlining. Again, we talk about this a lot, but streamlining the hiring process makes sense when it comes to applicants and tracking applicant data and all of that stuff, and for compliance reasons too.
Yeah, and then you could actually track what's working and what's not too as well.
Yeah.
So see where those applicants are coming from.
All right, Jen, and then really the final thing that you really should do is create a hiring plan and then follow it no matter what. Do not give in, do not settle. Don't not get distracted by shiny objects. So if you need to hire a photographer, but someone comes in with super intense, grilled cheese making skills.
Oh, come on.
Although that would be really great for your culture, if they can't take a good picture, you still shouldn't hire them.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And I think you said it best, is follow it no matter what. It's just, you want to stay consistent. You don't also want to be vulnerable to any discrimination or anything like that. You want it from start to finish, and it's going to be the same no matter what. Yeah,
that's a good point too. From a compliance standpoint, consistency is key. And when we talk about a hiring plan, it's really, again, remember why you're hiring, who's a good fit, who's not from a skills and ability standpoint, but also value standpoint, and make sure your questions are really targeting those things, right? So what questions do you need to ask, or what previous experiences do you need to ask about in order to get the best understanding possible to see if that person is going to do it the way you want and the way you need, and or maybe just isn't the right person for you.
Right. So tell me a time when.
Yes.
Right.
Past behavior, we've said this before, past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. So tell me about a time when you had to take out the garbage even though it wasn't part of your job, because if you know someone's going to have to do that,
that's right.
You might as well find out what they did.
That's right. You could tell by their immediate reaction whether they'd be willing to do it or not.
Yeah.
Do what it takes.
So crafting questions like that and being strategic about driving to the heart of it is good, and making sure they're open-ended like that. So finally, complete references. That's a final tip I have of what you should do.
That's no pun on our complete payroll name, right?
Complete references,
Right.
Yeah. Maybe that's a service you can provide in the future.
So.
Who knows?
Who knows?
You can complete a reference list on your application on your website or through your technology. But yeah, people think this is a waste of time and that references aren't going to provide good information. But I disagree. I think there's nothing to lose by asking for a list of references and trying to contact someone and ask about how the person performed in a previous job. So you might as well try, in my opinion. I do it all the time. I feel like I get good results.
And they might say things that are good or bad, right? That the applicant put down, and they may not think that they would say, but they're going to be more honest.
Yeah, or maybe verify things that they said, or that they actually worked there to begin with. That would be important to know.
Yeah.
So do that. So then from there, Jen, we talk about onboarding, which is in the next episode. So we'll have all the same tips of what you must do and should do for when you're ready to hire that person. But
once you find the right person, then how do we onboard them?
Yes, but do not take, in my view, hiring, selecting, and recruiting should be like the most important thing you do when it comes to your people, because that's the first step you take with anyone, right? Is deciding whether or not they're going to work for you. So.
Absolutely. Just think about the time and the money that you are putting into that person, and don't feel desperate to just hire someone, because in the long run, it's just going to hurt you.
Yes.
So take the time.
Yeah, and then next episode we'll talk about how to bring them in for a landing when you want to hire them.
Oh, you couldn't wait. You couldn't wait. All right. Well, thank you so much. And like I said, next episode will be about onboarding. Thank you again to Mercy Flight for hosting us, and please visit their website to find out ways you can donate.
All right.
I am Jen Strait with Complete Payroll.
I'm Emily. We'll see you soon.
See ya.